You know, there are a lot of reasons why a book like Max Blumenthal's Management of Savagery can be so important. One of them is to understand that the way we think the world works, the way we're told the way the world works, is not necessarily the way the world works. So, for example, we think that there's this thing out there called extremist Islam, and that it's rising in power, and that it's dangerous, and that it's going to hurt us if we don't throw lots of weaponry at it. What we learn through books like Max's is that this phenomenon is not inherently part of Islam, and it's not inherently part of the way the world works. We've encouraged extremism to suit our own interests, which Max very thoroughly documents, and then the rise of extremism is used to encourage the same forces that created it in the first place. It's a vicious circle from which we can never escape, but we should be trying to escape it. And this is, if anything, the point that I want to make most strongly. You know, there was a time when to be a progressive in the United States meant that you had a very strong foreign policy agenda to go along with your domestic agenda. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. You know, progressives in the late 1940s believed in a world order that would end war and create peace. Progressives in the 1960s wanted to end the war in Vietnam and other wars like it around the country, including the invasion of the Dominican Republic and so on. But progressives today do not seem to be committed to the idea that we need to build a peaceful and just and humane world order. You know, that's simply got to stop. And to a certain extent, I think part of the problem is that we started to look to politicians to provide leadership in this area. In the 1940s and the 1960s, these were people's movements that affected the politicians rather than the other way around. Now, nobody in political office is in a position to take the lead on this for a number of reasons, including the fact that they'll be singled out and victimized and targeted by other politicians and by the media establishment. That means the pressure for change has to come from you and me. There are great groups out there doing work to resist the war movement. We've had them on, Win Without War, Code Pink, other groups of this kind. So we encourage you to support those kinds of groups and to get active in the foreign policy area. And I would also encourage you to support the kind of media that will really tell you what's going on around the world, as well as here at home. And of course, I'm talking about alternative media. As I'm always saying, we can't have a political revolution without a media revolution, and that means supporting good organizations. I hope you consider the Zero Hour one of them. If you do, feel free to check us out at patreon.com/the Zero Hour.